You are listening to Keep Canada Weird.
Handsome Aaron Airport. We mentioned on episode 176 of Keep Canada Weird that we would be unavailable to record a weekly weird news roundup the following week, which is the week that people are hearing this, but we're not going to leave Keep Canada Weird's listeners without something to distract them from the endless waves of nonsense out there. You want to introduce it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are going to do a mailbag episode. So that is an episode where we crack open the mailbag, and these are voicemails that we haven't gotten around to airing on our regular Keep Canada Weird weekly news roundup series. So we are dedicating an entire episode, a mailbag episode, to focus purely on the unanswered voicemails that so deserved to be answered and given attention and loved and caressed and wrapped up in a warm blanket and served to the listening audience.
You're exactly right. And to be celebrated, we will do that tonight. This is our 8th volume in the Keep Canada Weird Mailbag series. And it seems as though the voicemails range in a vintage from episode 169 to about episode 176. So throughout this episode, we're kind of going to be looking back at some of the stories we covered over the last month or two. So this is, it's great to get caught up on mail, but it's also a great way to revisit some past topics. I want to open the whole thing up with a voicemail from a listener named Dina. This is an interesting one because usually a voicemail is specific to a story or a topic or a theme. Dina, I'm not even sure what this voicemail is, but it is positive. So we'll open the show with it.
Hi, Aaron and Jordan. I'm just calling to let you guys know that I love this show, and I don't have any critiques really for your show, but I really like the weird Canadian news updates that you guys have, and that's it. Okay, bye.
I wonder if this, like, I promise people, if your voice is aired on the show, we'll send you a Keep Canada Weird swag pack by mail. I feel like Dina is getting a bit of a freebie there.
Yeah, but she did compliment us and say that she likes the show. So that's enough to get a swag pack, I think.
I think so too. No notes, no criticism. Not that we would, if there was criticism, we probably wouldn't have aired the voicemail. So Dina,
That's right.
maybe that was just right. Maybe that was the perfect voicemail. But let's get into it here. Unlike the weekly weird news roundups, the mailbag is a bit all over the place because we're going to be jumping from topic to episode to story to story. But we're going to start by hunkering down in something we're both very familiar with. Probably for the last 45 episodes, maybe even longer than that, we've been following what we've been referring to as the puberty problem. That is a phenomenon across Canada, into the United States, and perhaps even around the world, where teenagers are behaving badly and it only seems to be getting worse. We tried to coin a term to describe this phenomena. We came up with the puberty problem. But of course, that hasn't gone well, and not everybody is on board for referring to the teenage downfall or the teenage uprising or whatever the hell it is as the puberty problem. One such listener was a listener named Norm. He called, and his voicemail was aired in episode 169. He pitched replacing the puberty problem with instead teen tyranny. He was citing the puberty problem as being unnecessarily complicated, as it may lead one to think it relates to acne or perhaps vocal issues. We kind of poo-pooed that. We didn't like teen tyranny because we worried people may instead hear team tyranny. We didn't accept Norm's substitute naming convention. Here's the latest from Norm on the puberty problem naming problem.
Hey, this is Norm from Vegas. Calling again regarding the naming of the puberty problem segment. I appreciate the feedback from Madeline and the other lady that called in, and I agree that both of their suggestions are better than my original premise. I especially like Madeline's name. I think you should rename the segment Teenage Clownery. That would be awesome. And while we're doing it, I think we should rename the whole show to Canadian Clownery. You know, it has a much better hook than Keep Canada Weird. as Aaron says, the hook, the hook, the hook. The hook is so important. Canadian clownery. It's almost like the puberty problem.
Oh, yeah.
And I have a special message for Aaron.
Thank you.
Even though you're handsome, you seem to be unduly interested in disallowing the renaming of segments to better names. So here's my message to you. Stop being a clown and a goof. Thank you.
Wow.
There's a lot in that one. I love Norm's voicemails. He's a regular caller, but I'll let you respond to that one because he said a lot.
Yeah. Well, I'm hurt. I'm heartbroken, devastated. There's a number of ways you could describe how I'm feeling right now, but that sums it up. I always looked forward to Norm's voicemails. They were something that whenever I heard that Norm had left a voicemail for us, my ears always perked. And I was always very excited to see what clever and insightful insights Norm would have on stories and topics and anything at all, really. I've always enjoyed the tone of Norm's voice and just Norm overall as a character in the Keep Canada Weird Army. I always thought he was very valuable. But Norm has cut me deep here. He's called me a clown and a goof.
I'd say be the bigger man. Don't fire back.
I'm not going to fire back. It wouldn't get us anywhere. But I will say to Norm, I will accept your apology once you send it in.
I like it. How about the content Norm contributed? Canadian clownery to replace Keep Canada Weird is actually not that bad, but I think I'd rather it as like a descriptor, Keep Canada Weird, stories of Canadian clownery, something like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now, I'm going to give my opinion on his idea to change the name, and I'm going to be completely unbiased.
Okay.
Because Norm did just hurt me deeply. We know we all just heard it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to let that affect how I feel about Norm's ideas.
Okay.
Changing the name to Canadian Clownery is the dumbest idea I've ever heard.
Okay.
From someone who I no longer respect or care for. And I think the character that Norm has displayed here in his most recent voicemail just goes to show that we can't take anything that he says with any kind of seriousness or weight at all.
Okay.
In fact, I'm going to put out a petition to the listeners of should we ban Norm from voicemails on Keep Canada Weird. This is something that I think should be considered. Norm should be banned for at least 6 months.
Norm hasn't convinced us to change any names. Let's see if James can. A listener named James also had some ideas on the puberty problem naming problem, the PPNP. Here's what James has to say.
As it's most popularly known as, yeah.
Greetings, gentlemen. This is your correspondent reaching out from Farmington, Utah. My name is James, and I think I have a solution to the puberty problem regarding the name. I think it should be called Youthful Yahoos, or maybe Youthful Yahoos, depending on your accent. These young kids are not always being problematic per se, but maybe they're just being a little bit more of a Yahoo, kind of causing trouble, but not necessarily problematic trouble. So that's my solution. Greetings from Utah, USA.
I like youthful yahoos, but I think it downplays the seriousness of what they're up to. I think, like I've said a million times, and I mean it when I say it, it's the teenagers are the people I'm terrified of. They have nothing to lose. And well, actually they do, but they don't even realize it because they're so hell bent on destroying society. Youthful yahoos is what I would call like an adolescent playing with firecrackers or something.
Mm-hmm.
The puberty problem is a whole different beast, much more serious.
Right. It's proving to be quite hard to convince you and I that there is a better name than the puberty problem in regards to the puberty problem.
Yeah.
But I will say this, in terms of James's suggestion, it is far superior to Norm's suggestion to change the name of Keep Canada Weird or any of Norm's suggestions for names for the puberty problem. In fact, it's far better than any idea Norm has ever had about anything.
Okay.
And I think that we should get the listeners to call in to leave some voicemails about how generally bad Norm is at everything he does.
I think all this to say, the puberty problem, I think, is the name that is going to stick. And I think, if anything, the PPNP, the puberty problem naming problem, seems to just be distracting from the actual issue. It's almost like a smokescreen
Yeah.
that is just being cast over a much more serious issue. We'll consider that as we
Yeah.
go into our first break of the night. Let's have a quick break, and when we get back, we'll lighten things up because we have a whole bundle of stories related to cats. For whatever reason, one story about a cat on a leash has just opened the floodgates of feline discourse, and we're going to catch up on it right after this break.
We should call it feline feedback.
That's good.
see what Norm thinks about that.
I traced a bit of the history on this one, Aaron. Back in Keep Canada Weird episode 170, we discussed a news story that involved a trend of taking leashed cats outdoors, like you traditionally would a dog. And that story kicked off a wave of cat-related calls into the show. In Keep Canada Weird 172, we had a listener named Allie share a story about a cat at her kid's school who became a bit of a mascot for the school, with its owner bringing it in like a weird clear backpack thing while wearing a variety of costumes. I think it was you who kind of crapped on this whole thing, saying, that cat doesn't like it. The cat is miserable. You remember all this?
I don't think those were my words, but I do remember the story, and I remember that I did have some reservations about it.
Okay, well, Allie wants to defend said cat against your reservations, which you seem to be backpedaling pretty hard on now. Listen to this, and I'm definitely inserting a clip of you bashing it back then.
Oh, are you okay? It would take a lot to convince me that the cat actually enjoys it. The cat tolerates it at this point in its life because it realizes it has no choice.
Here's Allie.
Whoa. Okay, this is Allie calling back again about the cats. I just want to say, Aaron, I too love cats. And my cat is also only indoors. She never goes anywhere. She also would absolutely hate putting anything on. Sometimes at Christmas, I'll put like a Santa outfit on her for like 4 seconds because she hates it, but I have to take a picture because I think it's funny. But I will say, I have seen this cat with my own eyes that gets dressed up. Knowing cats, I've lived with a cat my entire life, and I've seen the different kinds of cats, and this cat likes it. And one time, he was dressed, his name is Millard, okay? And he dressed up as a duck, like a Dillard duck. He was Millard the Dillard. It's not just a frog all the time. And he had like a birthday hat when it was his birthday. Believe me, this cat, he liked it. And the backpack thing, I agree. Not my favorite, but he was so happy. Like he was having a great time. No sense of stress at all. I know cats.
Anything you want to say to that?
Well, we all think we know cats, and I think I do too. I'm probably wrong on everything I think about cats because cats keep their cards close to their chests. They don't tell us anything about how they actually feel. So we'll never know. Cats are one of the most misunderstood animals on planet Earth. And I do believe that what we see a cat doing, we interpret it with human eyes, and we don't actually understand what that cat is feeling. I will stand by that as a cat lover, that 99% of the time when I look at my cat, I have no idea what he actually wants.
Well said. Let's hear from a listener named Lucy. Lucy has some thoughts and opinions on cats on leashes.
Hey, Jordan and Aaron. My name's Lucy. I'm in Virginia in the United States. So I just wanted to call in about the cats on leashes topic. I am the owner to 2 lovely cats. I got them when they were about 5 weeks old, so when they were little itty bitty kittens. And right when I got them, I started training them on harnesses. And now they're almost 2 years old and they love their harness time. We live very close to an art museum with a beautiful lawn. So we take them to the museum. I let them sniff around my front yard, and we have the cat backpacks for them and everything to take them on long walks. And they love it. And when they get home, they nap for like 3 hours. So it's a huge win. Big supporter over here. That's the way to go. Thanks.
I'm glad that Lucy has a great time with her cats taking them to the
Hmm.
art gallery, or at least to the lawn in front of the art gallery.
Yeah.
Since we covered the story about the trend of cats being brought outdoors on leashes, I've been seeing it a lot. I've probably, in the last month, of course, it's summer here in Nova Scotia, but I've probably seen 5 or 6 different cats on leashes with their owners outdoors.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, about cats on leashes is more the sense I think the cat enjoys it and loves it being outside. But my fear and the issue that I have was my fear is that having an indoor cat, giving them a taste for the outside, and then having to worry about when I open the front door, them darting out and then having a hard
Hmm.
time getting them back in or not getting them back in at all. So
Yeah,
that's the
I get
issue that
that.
I have with with leashing cats and taking them outside is that they could start to love the outside so much that they could escape on you.
Hmm. Do you enjoy hearing these people talk about cats on leashes?
Yeah, no, I enjoy it. I
Okay,
do think just
good.
as long as as the people who are thinking about getting into it, just understand that you need to have a game plan to handle how your cat is going to react once they fall in love with the outdoors and want to leave you forever.
Mm. For listeners of the show who enjoy cats, we're going to go on a little bit of you'll enjoy this next one. We're going to go on a bit of a journey here. We have a listener named Tracy in Australia who wants to tell us a bit about cats on leashes, specifically in Australia. Let's travel.
G'day, Jordan and Aaron. This is Tracy, your biggest fan here in Australia. I just wanted to give you a ring about cats. In Australia, we love our cats, but they are also a feral pest. Yeah, they cause devastation out in the wild. In our case, they absolutely decimate our marsupials and native birds. A lot of places have 12-hour curfews or 24-hour curfews. Cats aren't allowed outside ever. And I would not be surprised if cats were banned in Australia one day. But I had a friend who had a cat named Bruce, and she would walk him every weekend in the local reserve without fail. Now, this reserve, it had lots of kangaroos and koalas, and you'd even see an echidna, and if you're very lucky, you might see a platypus in one of the creeks. And also, there were lots and lots of brown snakes. Most people in the country have lost a cat to a snake because, yeah, there's no chance. Anyway, but Bruce, he was so well trained, he would just walk next to her, no leash. He would come when he was called, and people would walk around her with their dogs off leash, but he was always good and he lived to be 18 years of
Wow.
age. And she said, as long as you start from a kitten, they get used to it and they're very trainable. So I think that's the key. Start from a kitten and yeah, they'll be right. So, Jordan, one last thing. Nobody eats soft serve ice cream unless there's absolutely no other choice.
Hmm.
Okay.
I agree with that last part. I don't think I've ever met anyone who chooses soft serve over hard serve ice cream, but that's not the important part. Was it not fascinating to hear about the different wildlife at this reserve? And imagine Bruce, the 18-year-old cat, walking alongside its owner, perhaps getting eaten by a snake or seeing a platypus.
Yeah, or trampled by a kangaroo. Who knows what could have happened there, apparently. But I think that was great advice in terms of starting as a kitten, training them, with the harness, with the leash, making sure that they're staying by your side when you're walking them so you're able to, snatch them up right away in case there's any issues with other animals or dogs. And yeah, so I think that was a great voicemail, great advice, far more logical and respectful than Norm was. So yeah, I think that was a very pleasing voicemail.
Yeah, and it's right in line with what our prior caller Lucy had to say. You just start young with them, and I just feel like it'd be really hard to train a cat. I'm in the middle of training my puppy, who's now almost 7 months old. Her name is Penny. The easy thing about training a dog is they're so motivated by treats. Like they will do anything for this one little morsel of like dried meat, and they will do anything over and over and over again. Where a cat, I just don't really see that being like the food wouldn't motivate it the same way. So it would be a lot longer of a road to train a cat to walk on a leash. But for anyone who loves spending time with their cats, Keep Canada Weird salutes you. Aaron's silent salute. Let's move on to our next topic.
I wasn't sure. What did you want me to say there?
Kachi. That's the sound of like you're like saluting with your hat.
Kachi, is this?
Yeah.
No, it'd be more of a. Just a-
We're done with cats on leashes. Let's go on to another serious topic. And this is a duo of voicemails that in some way relate to senior citizens. Let's start with a bit of feedback from the prior mailbag episode. In the Keep Canada Weird Mailbag Volume 7, we discussed maple pecan ice cream, which led to you and I having a little bit of a discussion about, is it pecan or pecan? Are they two different words? One's plural, one's not. Is one said by the bougie and one said by the everyman? We weren't sure about the difference between these two things, but Keep Canada Weird correspondent Kristen wants to tell us all about pecans and pecans.
Hey, Jordan and Aaron. My name is Kristen. I live in Michigan. And I was just listening to the mailbag episode, in fact, only a couple of minutes in, and I heard your discourse on how to pronounce the word pecan or pecan. I'll give you some context from the southern states of America, whatever we call ourselves these days. In the South, well, I grew up in Texas, and in the South, it's always been referred to as pecan. So whether you're eating one single pecan or whether you're making a pecan pie or having butter pecan ice cream, I know in the northern part of the country, pecan is utilized, but my perspective is coming from the South, which I believe is where your caller was from as well. I can't believe this is the first time I'm calling, and this is what I'm calling about because I honestly have a lot of questions and comments for your show. But you guys do a great job, and it's nice to have this podcast to navigate to after a crazy day of being in America.
Huh. So I guess what I get from that is pecan versus pecan seems to be a political thing. It sounds like her state has kind of a dividing line between it. On one side are the pecan people, on the other side are the pecan people, and I guess they just maintain that north-south border and don't go from one side or the other because of the great pecan pronunciation wars of 1812.
Right. Yeah. You got it exactly right, Jordan. And I think right now in this climate, everything is very divisive. And in America, that is certainly the case. You have people who are sharply on one side, and then you have people who are sharply on another. And the pecan debate is no exception. So we would just like people to turn the heat down on this pecan situation and just treat each other civilly and don't let this boil over into any type of a regional war or civil war of some kind. It's important that we all stick together no matter what our differences. Tomato, tomato. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. Good message. And Kristen says, I don't know what we're calling it anymore over there. I'd say the great dumpster fire below us. But I love you all. Almost all of you. Read about a guy on the news who seemed like a prick. Didn't love him.
Oh.
Let's move on to the next story. Speaking of loving people, speaking of friendship, speaking of rubbing elbows with a senior and realizing that maybe you have more in common than you thought, we have a listener named Frank. Frank has called in before to tell us about, I think it was dumpster diving. He called in and he had this story about all the great things he finds dumpster diving. I think hearing you and I talk about senior citizens' love for ice cream, it maybe it made Frank feel a little soft, and he wants to tell us about his elderly friend.
This is Frank from Albuquerque. Right now, I don't live in Albuquerque anymore. I live in a very small town with only a few thousand people. And one of my best friends here in the whole world is a guy who I'm going to guess he's probably in his early 80s because I'm guessing that just because I believe he said he was in the Korean War, but which is the late 50s. Anyway, I'm guessing he's his late 70s, early 80s, but he's the nicest guy probably ever. And I've met him. We're both pedestrians. That's how we met. So I see him all the time. But after finally seeing him probably 30, 40, 50 times and talking to him and telling him my name every single time, this last time, he finally, without me telling him, he remembered my name. And that was just great. His name is Jack, but I call him Minnesota because he's from Minnesota and he has a pretty strong accent. All right, guys. Well, take care.
It's a really nice story. I didn't realize they were both pedestrians until he said that. Can you identify as a pedestrian? The way I
If
see
you're
it,
someone who walks for your mode of transportation every day, then I could see you labeling yourself as I am pedestrian.
I would feel like it would need to be exclusively walking. Like a vegetarian doesn't eat meat, a pedestrian doesn't get in a car or vehicle.
Well, a pedestrian is what you are in the moment of when you're walking on a street.
Yeah, but he
So,
says his buddy and him are both pedestrians.
yeah. Well, I mean, he's just referencing the fact that that's how they know each other from walking on the street.
Yeah. Well, it's cool to be able to make friends with an 80-ish year old as you're just walking down a street and be able to get to know them enough that you're learning about, their history and their background and they were in this war and I like that story. That made me feel good.
Yeah, throughout the whole voicemail, I was waiting for the connection to dumpster diving, like we had talked about at the top.
Well, the only connection is that Frank, this caller, has called the show before because he has an interest in dumpster diving. But I think that interest in dumpster diving or pastime or hobby or whatever you want to call it is completely different from the friendship he formed with this 80-ish year old man.
Okay. Because throughout the whole voicemail, I was waiting for him to be like, yeah, and then I found this 80-year-old man in a dumpster.
No, I don't think it doesn't go there. Um,
Okay.
our next segment here, I don't know if we should just jump into it or if we need to like take a quick break and really settle in on this, but we're in what I'm going to call the rapid fire round. We just have a series of voicemails that don't really follow any thread except that they're giving feedback on one episode after another. Why don't we just take our last break? When we get back, we'll just tear through them.
Great.
You got your seatbelt on?
Yep, always.
All right, Aaron, something we haven't talked about in a while is our favorite coffee shop. Not Tim Hortons, not Starbucks, not Dunkin's down in the US. We're talking about
Robin's Donuts.
That's right. A listener named Tim visited Canada. He tried to find a Robin's Donuts. He tried to try Robin's Donuts, but all he ended up with was a big, long, meandering story that doesn't end with a cup of Robin's coffee. Listen in as Tim tries to try Robin's.
Hey, Aaron and Jordan. This is Tim from Maine in the States. Sent in a voicemail a long time ago talking to you about the Tim Hortons issue. My wife and I this summer took, just a couple days ago, took a trip to Moncton. Great city, really nice people, lots to do. Anyway, I always go to Tim Hortons when I'm staying in Canada and have the coffee and sometimes food, but usually the coffee. And we really like the merchandise that they have up there. But anyway, we've been listening to the whole thing on Robin's Donut. So I've been obsessed with like the next time I went back to Canada, finding a Robin's Donut. So I initially did research last summer when I listened to several of your back episodes and you were talking about Robin's Donuts. And I was surprised they're all in these little teeny tiny towns, and I couldn't really figure that out. So we were staying in Moncton. The closest one was in Salisbury, which is I don't know if it's actually just outside of Moncton. We didn't get there. I kept thinking about going because I wanted to try the coffee. But on our way home, heading down the Trans-Canada Highway towards Maine, Route 1, I saw a sign, like a really tiny sign on a roadside as far as like the attractions and things that there are in a particular town. I can't remember the exact town, but we were almost back. And so I said, "Hey, Robin's Donuts," to my wife. She said, "Oh yeah." So we pulled off, and we had to go out through these winding roads. And I actually, it was in a gas station, and we went in, and my wife went to the counter, and we were trying to figure out the menu, and I went back. I kind of circled around the store and came back, and she couldn't even find the coffee on the menu. There was some Robin's like graphics in the store, but we couldn't figure out what that was all about. Are all of the Robin's donuts in gas stations? Are they all these like maybe they really are fighting the good fight against Tim Hortons because they're being really subversive and kind of doing covert operations by putting these coffee places in unexpected places, and there's some kind of secret menu. Maybe it's because we're not actually Canadian and we didn't have like the secret password, but we didn't get to try it, so thought you might all get a kick out of that. Hope you're all doing well, and we appreciate the podcast. Always fun to listen, and we're excited to go back to Canada soon.
That story is not that uncommon. If you recall, when we were soliciting Robin's Donuts advertisements from the Keep Canada Weird listeners, I do remember one of the standout ones was a whole ad about how Robin's Donuts, it takes a little more effort than some other shops, but it's worth the journey. And the way he's describing it, yeah, that's not uncommon. Like to search the nearest Robin's Donuts is an hour and a half away, and it's only open, it's in some gas station, and it's only open from like 9 till 2 for some bizarre thing. You and I are spoiled because where we're from in Sydney, there was a Robin's Donuts that for a long time, I believe, was 24 hours a day, and it was very close to my house. We used to sit there all night drinking coffee.
Yeah, so we're lucky to have a number of Robin's Donuts within arm's reach here where we live. But certainly around the country, yeah, you're going to find little pockets of Robin's Donuts, but it's not going to be everywhere. So you do, in certain places, have to go looking, but it's worth the look. And next time you're down, yeah, maybe pull out a road map, put pins in every place that there's a Robin's Donuts location, and plan your trip around that.
Let's move on to the next topic here. In episode 173, we discussed a Tesla that fell off a ferry in Quebec, and that led to a bit of a discussion about electric cars in general. An anonymous listener sent us a voicemail to give their rant on electric cars, and I'll tell you right off the jump, I agree with them 100%. They have the same issue I do. Here's Anonymous on electric cars and the ridiculous sound they make. Here it comes.
Hi, Jordan and Aaron. I am just listening to your most recent episode of Keep Canada Weird, where you're talking about the Teslas and the electric cars. I don't like much about Teslas. Political stuff aside, I don't think that's the thing. Um, I'm not against electric vehicles. They have their place, just not in my garage. But my biggest, big mad about these electric vehicles is the sound. They come out of speakers. My husband works for a company that has the electric vehicles, and sure, these are really cool technologies, but these sounds are coming out of speakers. You can't tell me that you can't make it sound cooler. It sounds like magnets rubbing together for me, and I just cringe every time one drives past me on the street. Yeah, why can't we get the vroom vroom and the beep beep and the come on, that's why we buy the dang cars, isn't it? I say this as if I don't drive a Toyota Corolla.
Do you know what she's talking about though? I can hear an electric car a mile away if it's coming towards me because it is this weird hum. And I've heard, maybe it does come from a speaker. I've heard that there's speakers that actually make the sound. If that's so, why do they all sound like this weird humming sound? Why wouldn't they make the speaker have just a more traditional sound? Maybe they want it to sound futuristic.
You want it to play like
an ice cream truck
or something, or yeah. I don't know. I mean, I've never really noticed the sound in the way that you and this other listener have. When I've seen Teslas drive by, I just always felt that they were quieter, and that's all I really thought about it. I never was offended by the sound or thought too much about
Yeah, and never,
what it
and
was.
not even specific to Tesla. There's like a someone who lives right by me that has one of the, I don't know what model it is or brand or whatever, but it's not a Tesla, I don't think, but it's an electric car. But I always hear it. It's just like rather than like "Rrrr," it's like and it's almost this. I just don't identify it as a car sound, and it is weird. But I guess at
Hmm.
least you can hear it. Like, of course, we can all understand why the car couldn't be dead silent driving around. I'm just thinking, like, if you're designing a car and you have the opportunity to give it any sound you want, yeah, the cucaracha, maybe an ice cream truck. You could go traditional with a grumbling vroom vroom. I just can't imagine settling on like a high-pitched hum that sounds electrical in nature.
I don't know. We would have to be in the boardroom at Tesla to maybe have some more insight onto this issue. I can't really see the problem with it, but obviously other people do, not just you. So I do accept that there is an issue here, whereas originally I thought you were
Okay.
stupid.
Let's move on to another issue that maybe we didn't understand initially. We're traveling now back to episode 174, where we discussed Katy Perry and Justin Trudeau's dinner date. During that episode, we discussed Katy Perry's decline in popularity. We talked about her heyday being, 10 years, 12 years or so ago, with hits like Fireworks, E.T., Teenage Dream, I Kissed a Girl and I Like It.
Hmm.
But for whatever reason now, she just doesn't seem to be as big of a star. A listener named Tracy wanted to tell us why, according to her, Katy Perry has fallen off. And this is something I didn't know anything about, but listen to this. See if you can read between the lines and what Tracy has to say.
Hey, Jordan. Hey, Aaron. I just wanted to chime in on your inquiry about Katy Perry and Justin Trudeau. So, Jordan, if you don't know why Katie's like kind of fallen off, um, she kind of wears a red hat and she likes pumpkins. So, in my opinion, I think she's a honeypot. All right, guys. Thanks for keeping Canada weird. My name's Tracy. Take good care.
So, were you able to decipher that?
Uh, so she wears a red hat. She likes pumpkins. So that makes her a honeypot?
I don't get the pot part, but I think what Tracy is saying is that she's like a Trump supporter. We can just say it. A red hat. Supporters wear a
Oh,
red hat.
okay.
And critics of Trump often
Mm.
refer to his skin tone as being orange.
Yeah, I was thinking
So
there was
she,
some Cinderella reference she was trying to make. It really was
no,
going over my head. I apologize.
no, I think what she's saying, I could be wrong, but I believe what she's saying is people don't like her because she's a Trump supporter. So I did a bit of Googling before we went to air tonight to see like, is Katy Perry like a Republican or like a right-leaning political person? And the reason the reason I was interested is I would be surprised if Justin Trudeau had any kind of personal relationship with someone that would be kind of on the other political spectrum as him. That would have surprised me. So I did a bit of a search on Katy Perry, and oddly enough, I found articles about how Katy Perry is like Republican and is like a Trump supporter and all this stuff. But I also found articles that were about Katy Perry like supporting Kamala Harris and being against Trump and all this stuff. So I feel like maybe what has happened is people on both sides think Katy Perry supports the other side, and maybe that's why everyone hates her.
Well, she could have started off as a Trump supporter back in 2016 for his first presidential run, and then decided that she didn't like the cut of his jib and moved on
Mm.
to the other side.
Oh,
And then
maybe if so, that's
now she's leaning towards the Democrats.
yeah. And if so, like if you're a public figure and you make a political stand and you give a political stance and then change your mind 4 years later in America, oh man, talk about cutting your audience in half. If that's what happened, that sucks. I prefer to think that the reason Katy Perry's latest album flopped and the reason nobody liked that she was going to space is because people on both political spectrums believe she supports the other. But if you do Google it, you will see Katy Perry is both a Trump supporter and a Kamala Harris supporter. And if both are true, that's a pretty lonely place to be down in the US, I bet. And would not translate to listens and album buys and ticket sales.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's sometimes best to just, if you're a musician, just play your music.
Yeah, that's right. And don't go on dates with Trudeau, because if
Well,
she's like,
hold on. That's personal life there. That's they can
yeah,
date
that's
who they
true.
want.
That's true. But I'm just thinking, let's say in this imaginary world, she made everyone unhappy down in the US because of this political misunderstanding. And she says, you know what? I can have a new start up in Canada. So she comes up. She's like, I know how I'll make them love me. I will partner with Justin Trudeau. And all of a sudden, half the people hate her. What would be the next thing she could do to make the other half? What would she have to do to make the Trudeau haters hate her as well?
Oh, the people. Hold
So
on.
she comes to Canada. She starts dating Justin Trudeau.
Uh-huh.
So all the people who hate Trudeau now hate Katy Perry as well.
Yeah.
What would Katy Perry have to do to make the Trudeau supporters hate her? That's
To make the Trudeau
a better way.
supporters hate her. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so to absolutely divide the country and have both sides hating her. So all the Trudeau haters hate her because she was with Trudeau.
Uh-huh.
How do you get the rest of the people against her?
Well, she just cheats on Justin Trudeau.
With
Tucker Carlson.
Yep, that'd do it. Well done. I knew you'd get it. Let's move on to our last piece of voicemail. Now that we've solved the Katy Perry, Justin Trudeau popularity riddles, our last voicemail is a really good one. Let's just take a few deep breaths before we get into it, because I think this is a great story we missed. All right.
That sounds like the tip of her hat.
In episode 174, not only did we talk about Katy Perry and Justin Trudeau, we also discussed that man in Manitoba named Bubba, who was the target of a smear campaign around the city that involved commercial signs telling the world that Bubba can't fish. You remember this?
I do, yeah.
A listener named Ramona is pretty passionate about her theory related to this story. Listen to Ramona's thoughts on Bubba can't fish and the maybe fake news smear campaign.
Hey, handsome Jordan and handsome Aaron. This is Ramona. I'm calling from Toronto. I wanted to talk about Bub and Bubba sucks at fishing because I really think that something was missing from your reporting. Who is this guy? Does anyone even call him Bubba, or is that just something he calls himself? Sounds like a self-given nickname. Who cares about his fishing skills? Who would bother putting up road signs? Those cost money. You brought that up yourselves. Those cost money. Who would do that as a so-called prank? Clearly, he is the one behind all of this. He says there's a long list of suspects, and why would that be? Bubba, if you're such a great guy and you're giving back to the community now and teaching kids how to fish, do these kids even want to be fishing? And I give me a break, Bub. I don't buy it. I think he's behind the whole thing, and he's just stirring up attention and creating mystery where there is none. And I just couldn't believe that you didn't clock that. But thank you very much for reporting on the news. It's incredibly important. And thank you.
I agree with her 100%. I don't know how we missed that. Did we even talk about could he be behind the whole thing?
No, we didn't. We had a number of different theories, but that wasn't one of them. So we thank you for that. That opened our eyes to a whole other world of possibilities to explain who was behind these Bubba Can't Fish signs.
Yeah, and for him to be like, there's a lot of suspects. Why would there possibly be a lot of suspects of, like, if someone's putting up these signs saying you can't fish around town, you should know right away. It's like, it's my one crazy friend who has money and would do it. Like, it shouldn't be like it could be anyone. There are so many people who would put up signs about my fishing around the city. No way.
We need someone who knows
Do,
Bubba to call into the
do
show.
they even call him Bubba? Because
And
that's another good point. A self-given nickname,
yeah.
that would be the work of someone who would put signs up about themselves and then contact the news. Like, have you seen those signs around town? Like, I'm the guy that they're all about. Like, I'll go on and talk about this if you guys want the exclusive.
Yeah, yeah. It'd be like walking in the road and seeing a sign that says "Bus Stop Can't Podcast."
Yeah. It's like, oh, what do you know?
What do you know? Bus Stop Can't Podcast. Yeah.
Either way, I thank Ramona for her message. She listens with a keen ear, obviously, if she's picking up things we're missing. And that's why they say it takes a village. With Keep Canada Weird, it takes an army. And fortunately, we got one. Romana, you're now a member of the Keep Canada Weird Army. And as a result of that, you and anyone else who's had their voice heard on this show qualifies for a Keep Canada Weird swag pack. Just go to nighttimepodcast.com/contact. Fill out the little form where you put in your address, and we will get something special out to you right away. And I'm in the middle of getting all new stickers and pins and everything else, so you may get something extra special.
Wow, that's a surprise to look forward to and very exciting.
Mm-hmm. I think we're through all the voicemail. We're all caught up. The Keep Canada Weird mailbag is empty. Anything we should say or do before we put a bow on the mailbag volume 8?
Just a couple of action calls here for the audience to call in and weigh in on hashtag ban norm. So we're going to get that trending. We want to make sure that I want to hear from the listeners before an official decision is made to ban Norm from leaving voicemails for at least 6 months.
You can call them nuisance voicemails. Like, should we allow nuisance voicemails from Norm?
Well, just no. I mean, even if it's a nice message from Norm, I think he's banned regardless.
Okay.
For at least 6 months.
Okay.
But so even if Norm, if he calls in and apologizes like a man to me and completely submits to me and goes back to only worshiping me, then Norm will not be banned. But I do want the rest of the Keep Canada Weird Army to weigh in on this first. Hashtag ban Norm.
Okay. So we'll see if that's
trending on X. Yeah. And we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. It'll be trending on socials. Yeah. We'll see. Well, that's it. We've wrapped up Mailbag 8. We'll be back next week with our regular weekly Weird News Roundup. And I got something special in store for the next one. I actually have an American story that just came across the Keep Canada Weird desk, and I'm saving it as a special treat for the next episode.
I love special treats.
All right. Well, with that said, handsome Aaron Airport, I look forward to seeing you when we're on vacation next week.
Yeah, so you'll be on vacation. You'll be coming down to visit. We'll see each other. It'll be nice. It's always a pleasure seeing you in person. And that will just be something for me to look forward to.
I want to thank you for helping Aaron and I fulfill our mission to keep Canada weird. If you got a news story from your area that you'd like to share with us, or have any thoughts or theories or opinions on anything we discussed tonight, we'd love to hear from you. You can contact us by using the voice recorder that can be found at nighttimepodcast.com/contact. And on that topic, I want to give a big thank you to this episode's correspondents. If your voice message was aired tonight, you can email me your address. My email is nighttimepodcast@gmail.com, and I'll get a Keep Canada Weird badge and swag pack sent out to you. I just ask that you wear the badge proudly and responsibly. Next, a big thanks goes out to Aaron for another great night, you, Nicole, for the intro and outro voiceovers, and Monty Data for the outro version of O Canada. And then, of course, a sincere and massive thank you goes out to each and every one of you listening. Your support makes this show possible. And if you'd like to support the show even more, please consider a subscription to the premium feed, which can be found at nighttimepodcast.com/subscribe. The premium feed costs just a couple dollars a month, but that money will fund the creation of new episodes of the show, and it'll give you those episodes 2 days early, ad-free, and access to a back catalog of episodes. And even if you don't want to go premium, you can still support the show by sharing this episode on social media. That helps a lot too, and it's free. Your support is very much appreciated. So with all that said, until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and together, Let's keep Canada weird.
And keep Canada weird. Please keep Canada weird.
And now to our viewers and listeners everywhere. Good night.
I don't know anything about it. I expected to Google Katy Perry Trump and find like, her speaking out about Trump. But the first thing that came up was all this stuff about how much she supported Kamala Harris and all this stuff. But then I was finding articles about how so many young people are becoming Republicans due to Katy Perry and Gwen Stefani. In full transparency, I didn't actually read the articles. I just kind of skimmed them. Like, what is it? Is she with him or against him? What the hell? And then I thought, you know what? I think maybe no one knows, so everyone hates her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is an article that says John Oliver blames Katy Perry for Trump's U.S. election victory. John Oliver has revealed his unlikely scapegoat for the 2024 U.S. election result, Katy Perry. Oliver comedically offered the viewpoint that Harris's loss can be attributed to fireworks singer Katy Perry, who endorsed the Democratic nominee at her rally the day before the election. So he's saying because
her support. She's so unliked.
Yeah.
Maybe it isn't that she supports Trump, but she actually helped Trump by supporting Kamala Harris and being unpopular.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.